everybody, welcome back to Unique Vessel, and this is your girl Soraya the Vessel here. And today this video is going to be a bit different because, well, my face isn't going to be in it because I'm experiencing technical difficulties with my laptop, and I'm pretty sure you guys can relate. But I said I was going to put a video up today, and this video is going up today. And this video today is actually a viewer requested video because of a poll that I put in my Instagram story. And if you guys aren't following me on Instagram, then you should do that. I think I put up some pretty cool stuff on there. I haven't been as active, but in the next few weeks I will definitely be more active with posting. But today's video is going to be on the topic of the Bible being used out of context. And in the poll, I also had another option, which was if you stop going to church, does that mean you're a backslider? The video for that topic will be put up next week, Saturday. And I decided I'm going to be posting up videos every Saturday. So if you want to keep in tune with seeing when I upload videos, you should hit the subscribe button and also press the notification bell next to it so you could be notified whenever I post something new on my channel. But without further ado, let's get into the video. The first verse we're talking about today is Proverbs chapter 23 verse 7. For as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. This one is one of the most all-time most abused and misused verses in the Bible. It's used to prop up the thinking that we can speak things into existence and that our thinking determines our future and other thoughts like that. This is one of the very few verses that popular word of faith preachers and teachers use that appears to validate their ridiculous teachings, which comes from the world of sorcery, not the Bible. Just to give you guys some facts. First of all, it has to be quoted from the King James Version in order to say what they want it to say. If you read it in the NIV, it says, "For he is the kind of man who is always thinking about the cost." In the English Standard Version, it says, "For he is like one who is inwardly calculating." Now, those two don't exactly sound like positive thinking statements now, do they? Secondly, it's the second half of a whole sentence. It's not even a complete thought by itself. Here is the same verse in the English Standard Version with the proper context of the verse before and after. Do not eat the bread of a man who is stingy. Do not desire his delicacies, for he is like one who is inwardly calculating. Eat and drink, he says to you, but his heart is not with you. You will vomit up the morsels that you have eaten and waste your pleasant words. Any pastor or teacher who knowingly misuses this verse to teach the power of positive confession or the law of attraction or any type of ridiculous thing like that is completely disqualified from ministry. You may need to let that sink in for a while, because this means that many very popular pastors or teachers that are saying this, and possibly ones that are your favorite, that you like to watch on Sunday mornings when you don't go to church, are 100% wrong. The true meaning behind this verse is talking about how people who are wealthy use materialistic things to trap the poor. In verse 6 of Proverbs 23, it says, "Do not eat the bread of a man who is stingy, do not desire his delicacies." It's saying that the man who is stingy is talking about rich people, because rich people are stingy and they're cheap. They don't like sharing their money with anybody. And verse 7 goes on to say, "For he is like one who is inwardly calculating. Eat and drink, he says to you, but his heart is not with you." It means he's trying to play you. He is like always thinking to himself like, how can I get this to happen? How can I get this to happen? How can I get more stuff for myself? He's always thinking some type of negative thoughts. And verse 8 says, "You will vomit up the morsels that you have eaten and waste your pleasant words." Basically, it means you're going to end up self-destroying yourself and you're going to end up as nothing. The second verse we're going to be talking about is Matthew chapter 7 verse 1. "Do not judge, or you too will be judged." Warning, what I am about to say is going to get a lot of people's panties in a bunch and a lot of people upset. Which in my opinion, honest opinion, I don't care if you get mad at me for this. I'm just saying the truth. And when it comes to the Word of God, we need to be honest about it. Now, whenever a false teacher or prophet is exposed because of unbiblical teachings, blatant sin, corruption, greed, prophecies that don't come true, etc., etc., they can often maintain the unquestioning support of their followers by using this verse, taken out of context, of course. This verse is not saying don't ever judge anyone ever. In reading the whole passage, it's easy to see that this verse is warning against unjust, hypocritical judgment in our own personal dealings with others. Now, I'm going to read to you verses 1 through 5 so you can get a clear understanding of this, but I'm going to be reading from the English Standard Version. It says, "Judge not, that you be not judged. For with the judgment you pronounce, you will be judged, and with the measure you use it will be measured to you. Why do you see the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, 'Let me take the speck out of your eye,' when there is the log in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye." Now, I'm going to read verse 5 again. "You hypocrite, first take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye." Now, as I said before, this is warning against unjust, hypocritical judgment in our personal dealings with others. Now, in that last verse I just said, it's saying for you to take the stuff that is in yourself out first so you can deal rightly with others. Now, a lot of people, including me, I'm guilty of this. We will give people advice, not even advice, we would just be straight up judging them, just saying like, "Oh, you shouldn't have done this, you shouldn't have did that, oh my God, you're so bad for doing that." Meanwhile, we are either doing the same bad thing they're doing, or we have done something else that may be equally or even more bad than what they already did. And the purpose of this is to point them to Christ, not to point out every little thing they did wrong to make ourselves look like the good guy. The third verse we're talking about today is from the book of Luke, chapter 11, verse 9, which reads, "And I say unto you, ask, and it shall be given to you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you." Now, in the opinion of many theologians, this is the number one most misused verse in the Bible. This verse is often used, particularly by televangelists, as a source of name it and claim it Christianity, which treats this verse as an obsolete. You want the new Mercedes? Claim it in the name of God and you'll get it. Want that winning lottery ticket? Claim it. Just knock and you'll be richer than your sinful neighbor. This kind of thinking, while conducive to filling pews and reaping large tithes and offerings, is not scriptural at all. Luke 11 verse 9 has little to do with guaranteeing our personal fulfillment. Let's look to the context of the verse rather than attempting to apply it by itself. In order to understand Luke chapter 11 verse 9, we're going to look to the beginning of the chapter. In Luke chapter 11 verse 1, Jesus' disciples ask him, "Lord, teach us to pray." In response, Jesus teaches them what we know today as the Lord's Prayer, which serves as an example of how we are to pray. From verses 2 to 4 in chapter 11 of Luke, it says, "And he said to them, When you pray, say, Father, hallowed be your name, your kingdom come. Give us each day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins, for we ourselves forgive everyone who is indebted to us, and lead us not into temptation." Now that was the English Standard Version I just read from. Nowhere in the Lord's Prayer, the example of how to pray given by God himself, do we see Jesus claiming a new donkey and cart, or piles of gold. It is a humble supplication, asking God to help us live the way He wishes us to live and to provide for us as we need to be provided for in order to do this. The fourth verse that we are going to be talking about, well, actually, this isn't even a verse, it's more of a statement, is God will never give you more than you can handle. This sentence itself is not even in the Bible, but is so commonly quoted that it needs to be addressed. It's a misquotation of 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13, which reads, "No temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful, and He will not let you be tempted beyond your ability, but with the temptation, He will also provide the way of escape that you may be able to endure it." Now, this is clearly a very different message than the misquoted version. The first question I want to ask is, why would we need God at all if we never encountered a situation that's too difficult for us to handle? Was the Holocaust not more than you can handle for its survivors? For those who didn't survive? The reality is that there will be many situations we cannot handle as humans in a fallen world. God allows us to be subject to difficulties which are more than we can bear, but He is also there for us to give us support in such times in ways that draw us closer to Him. So what does the real version of this verse means? For this, we can look to the language of the actual verse. God always provides a way out when we are tempted by sin. We have free will that allows us to choose God over temptation. God knows how much we can take as human beings and has ensured that nothing immovable stands between us and an eternity with Him. Now, for this last verse, this is probably the verse I am the most passionate about that people use out of context, because I can relate to this verse on a personal level and on so many other levels. The verse is 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 14 through 15. And it reads from the English Standard Version, "Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness? What accord has Christ with Belial? Or what portion does a believer share with unbelievers?" Now, before I continue with the explanation, I would like to say that I said the word yoked, which is Y-O-K-E-D, not yoked, Y-O-L-K-E-D, which is the yellow part of the egg, which I find disgusting, but that's a whole nother story. The word yoked in the Greek definition means to be joined together. And the word Belial, which was said in the verse, in the Hebrew means ungodliness, wicked, and destruction. Now, I say I relate to this on a very personal level because I have been attacked with this verse on many occasions. Here's my story. I am in a lovely relationship with my boyfriend, Michael. I would put up pictures of him, but to be honest, I don't have any good pictures of him on my phone. But I'm going to continue on with the story anyway. I've been in a relationship with him for about over a year now. And with some people that I'm close to, some people that I'm not close to, they've kind of had a problem with it. The main reason being is that during the time that we got together, I was attending a church and he wasn't. He had stopped going to church. And now you're probably wondering, did I ever see that as a problem? And to be honest, no, because I asked him the genuine question that I was like, oh, why did you stop coming to church? And he gave me a legitimate and very understanding reason. Will I say that reason? No, because I feel that he should be the one to say it. And maybe in the future, if I hit a certain number of subscribers, I get a lot of support, I may do a video in the future with him. Maybe, who knows? And he may be watching this video, so if he agrees to it, then we may do it. But anyway, back to the story. But yes, he gave me a very understanding reason of why he stopped going to church, and I understood it as well. I understood it to the point where I started kind of going through the same things he went through in church, and at the moment now, I don't attend church as much as I used to. And because I went through my own personal struggles, and that doesn't mean I stopped having a relationship with God. And that doesn't mean he stopped having a relationship with God either. We both pray, we both read our word, we both maintain a good spiritual level within ourselves and a good spiritual level with the people that are around us. And being that this is supposed to be a rant video, I'm going to say this once and I'm going to say it clear. And this is actually going to be the topic of the video I'm going to do next week, Saturday. Just because someone stops going to church does not mean that they completely fallen out of being in a relationship with God. Now that that is over, let's get back to explaining the verse. Now, this verse is saying that it's not good to be in a partnership with someone that is a complete unbeliever, who doesn't believe that Jesus rose from the grave after 3 days, who doesn't believe that God created the heavens and the earth by the sound of his voice, who doesn't believe that the Holy Spirit was sent to be a comforter and a guide for us in our everyday lives. All of that. That is what an unbeliever is. And in this verse is saying it's not good to be in a relationship with them, whether it be with a business partnership, in ministry, or of course in a relationship with them like boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, things of that nature. And it's to say that because obviously us as humans, we cannot do anything without God. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. His ways are greater than our ways. He can think of better plans than any idea that we can think of on our own. Us being partnered with people that are unbelievers or working with them, we can be, I wouldn't say easily tricked by things that they do or that they say, but little by little it will start to affect us, and little by little our spiritual man on the inside, it will start to get affected and it will start to weaken us spiritually. And that is where the enemy can have like a clear shot at us, because the enemy wants nothing more than for us to be weak and isolated, because in situations like that we can easily forget that we are slowly pulling ourselves away from God's presence, from God's voice of wisdom, from God's touch, from just everything of God. And that can easily put us in a point of isolation. And that's what the enemy wants to do to us. Alright guys, that's the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to like and share this video with your friends. And also comment down below if you relate to any of these verses that are just some of the many examples of verses that I use out of context. And also, like I said in the beginning, if you have any verses or any other topics you want me to talk about, leave a comment down below and I'll be sure to take note of it, and you will see a video about them in the future. Again, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow me on all my social media outlets, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.